Everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. And a film that I want to talk about today is a film that I don't have a physical for release for. You know what? I probably would pick it up if it did come out physically. And that was a film that snuck up on me that I didn't even know about. I think I read about it maybe last month. It's a Tubi original. If you have the Tubi app, definitely check this one out. It's a remake of the 1980 horror slasher Terror Train. The one that starred Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, the original slasher of, original version of Terror Train, I do enjoy. I think it is definitely, it's not one of the top slashers of the 80s, but I think there's a good quality to that film. Just understand, it's not going to be Halloween, and then when we move into the 80s, it's not going to be, Friday the 13th or anything like that. It's definitely a lesser slasher, but slap the Jamie Lee Curtis name on that project, and obviously it becomes, people are going to understand, and they're going to realize, hey, it's a slasher. It has her in it, the original Scream Queen. Yeah, so you understand that. But this remake definitely kind of caught me by surprise. And the interesting thing, without really spoiling anything for this film, one of the interesting things that I found out, and the reason I found out about this, was the fact that they're making a sequel to this film, to the remake. So the remake came out on Tubi right, I think at the beginning of October it came out, for the Halloween season. And once you know, the sequel must have been made directly right after they finished the first one, because that is going to be on Tubi on New Year's Eve. So that's pretty cool, almost getting a sequel almost like 2 months later. Not bad. So I'm definitely interested in checking that one out. Now, as far as the remake goes, some of the characters are different for this particular film. They kind of follow the same idea, the same premise of how, how the original started out. And, obviously, but this one is, because when you go to the sequel takes place on New Year's Eve. It's a New Year's party. Where this one, the first film for this one was a Halloween party. So they did change some things around, a little bit for this particular film. Now, one thing I got to say, again, without spoiling things, if you've seen the original, and you think you know how it's going to end, you think you have it all figured out, think again, because they've added a little bit of a twist, added their own little mark on this particular film. Now, granted, the twist in the film, it's not a genre-changing thing. It's not going to change the horror genre. We've seen this kind of twist here and there millions of times in these films. But I think it's done effectively in this one. For a Tubi original that came out of nowhere, that nobody was really, expecting. And I think from what I read, it was the highest viewed Tubi original that they've had on, on the app, the Tubi app. So that's pretty good. That's not bad. And yeah, this one, I will say that it did leave me guessing. I thought there was one particular character they showed a few times in the film that I thought was going to be the killer. If you've seen the original, you know how the original goes. Where I thought this person was gonna be the killer. But yeah, I needed to leave all that at the door because I was completely wrong. And it kind of confused me, because where I thought they were going to go, they didn't go. And I was going back and forth. I'm like, no, because the obvious, once you get later on into the film, the choices, who you think is going to be the killer, the obvious choice, when you get later into the film, you're like, no, they can't do this. But it's way too obvious at this point of the film. Can they really go that direction that we've seen time and time again in countless, horror films? But they do. They do go in a particular direction. But I will say that I did enjoy the film for what it was. I did have fun with the film. And I will definitely be checking out the sequel on Tubi at the end of this month. Like I said, I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you're a horror fan, if you're a fan of just, slasher films in general. I think there's something here for everybody. Some of the kills are pretty effective. There are a couple scenes here and there. The CGI is a little wonky, off and on. But again, for a Tubi original, that's what to really expect. I don't think there's probably a huge budget for this film. But it's, it's shot well enough for that it doesn't look low budget. It seems more like a sci-fi Channel type film that what you'd find on the Sci-Fi Channel more than anything. But it's on Tubi, and I think it's definitely worth checking out because you can download the app for free. You could watch this on Tubi for free, and I think that's a pretty darn good value. And I don't think you're going to be disappointed if you check this one out. On a scale of 1 to 10, I haven't done scales in a while, 1 to 10. I haven't done that. But I would probably say, for me, I'd probably say around a good 6.5 because it was enjoyable. And it did keep me guessing towards the end. 6.5 is not bad. For this kind of film where they are taking, they're not really, well, they are kind of taking a risk because they do keep you guessing here and there who the killer is until you get towards the end. Then it becomes pretty obvious who the killer is, even though it doesn't really seem like that should be the direction they're going. They do go that direction. So not really taking too much of a risk in that particular, aspect of the film. But I would definitely say it's worth checking out. And to get a film that's like a good 6.5 out of 10 for this, I think was done well. For one that came out of nowhere, that's just shocked the hell out of everybody that it was actually on Tubi. And then really surprised everybody by announcing pretty much like a month later that the sequel was coming out. Like I said, the kills are pretty good. There's one kill in the film that I think was pretty darn good. I did enjoy it. I mean, obviously you can tell they're using prosthetics for the kill, but it was done well. Like I said, what happens at the beginning, if you've seen the original, where, there's a sorority and they're playing, this guy who's trying to pledge into the sorority. He basically, there's a prank that is pulled on this gentleman, and it puts him overboard a little bit. So, and they follow suit. They do the same exact thing in this film. And our main lead in the film, she was good. She's no Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, there's not many when it comes to horror films. She's, one of the originals and one of the best. But I think she does a pretty good job. And there's not too many things that are forced on anybody in this film. I think it's pretty good for what it is. I think it's definitely an enjoyable film if you're, if you want to check out, a slasher or a newer slasher or horror that you haven't seen or heard about. Definitely download Tubi. It's free, like I said, and this will end up be free to watch. I don't think you can be disappointed. And if you like it, you'll have something to check out at the end of the month when the sequel comes out. So I think it's a win-win for everybody in that, that regard. So the remake of Terror Train on Tubi, go check it out. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Just understand, it's not going to blow your socks off. It's not going to be, I almost guarantee it's not going to be your favorite slasher of all time, but it's going to be at least fun to sit back, relax, grab a drink, grab some food, have some friends. I would probably suggest watch this one with friends too, and just have some fun with it. Why not, right? So, like, subscribe and comment if you get a chance, and I will catch you in another episode. Take care.